Welcome everyone. My name is Juan Ángel Pollatos. I'm the director of Voluntare. Voluntare is an international corporate volunteer network with close to 100 members, companies, NGOs, academia, public sector. We work together in order to promote corporate volunteering. We are a great think tank in which knowledge, networking, advocacy, and collaborative projects are produced, again, focused on corporate volunteering. We try to get more and more companies and NGOs involved in corporate volunteering and get a higher impact and the highest social impact and corporate impact. And this year we celebrate our 10th anniversary, so we are working on a conference, international conference in July. We could go on. And we are all you invited to participate and to participate in all the working groups we promote in volunteering, Voluntare. We're going to go into focus the webinar on the coronavirus crisis and on how corporate volunteering are adapting and working in this context. We have 120 people at the webinar. Today from the United States, Israel, Spain, Germany, Belgium, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Honduras, Mexico. So thank you so much for your participation and for attending the webinar. We have today 4 inspiring experiences from Telefónica and La Caixa from Spain, from Point of Lights from USA, and from Intel from Israel. And before I start, just brief logistic questions. All of you are going to be muted, or we recommend that you be muted. But you can ask questions or comments by chat. We will have 10-15 minutes at the end of the webinar to answer your questions. So please feel free to send your comments, your ideas, because it's very important nowadays to work together and to interchange all the information and projects that you have. Coronavirus, as you well know, we are in a huge and unprecedented crisis. We started in Asia, then moved to Europe, and now it's expanding to America. It's not necessary to give you more details. All of you understand perfectly the current situation. But this pandemic has produced an unprecedented quarantine that is changing the world we live, and it's changing volunteering too. Social distance is must to prevent the spread of coronavirus, so new ways of volunteering are needed. This moment is an opportunity to develop new ways of collaboration, so corporate volunteering needs to new strategies based on need of new ways of volunteer engagement, understands the new needs, the new people who have new needs, and innovation, because it's very important to cover this new situation, this new time, these new needs, and this new context. And we need your ideas and your innovation to foster and to try to solve this crisis. We should think, for example, corporate volunteering program focus on the economic crisis that coronavirus will bring, because we have a specific situation, but in 1 month, 2 months, or we in fact don't know. Probably we are sure that we have to very important economic crisis situation. So, for example, corporate volunteering programs should be adapted. Now we have a health crisis, but we are going to have a very important economic crisis too. So corporate volunteering should work in this task. The current situation moves toward a more proactive approach, where corporate volunteering reacts to new needs of society. Those new needs and the way of volunteering that arise will define corporate volunteering strategies and projects. In this context, collaboration with authorities, between companies and NGO should be a key success factor. NGOs have new needs, volunteers have to adapt into this new situation, and companies need to redesign the volunteer strategies in order to try to solve this very difficult situation. What kind of corporate volunteering activities you will find nowadays? Webinars, awareness campaigns, support for dire needs, free online education, online accompanying, and online fundraising. It's just a few examples. We have great examples in Ireland or in the UK. We have great examples in Spain, and we have a great example in many other countries. But we are going to know more in detail about 4 wonderful initiatives from Spain, the United States, and Israel. So we are going to start with Israel, with Tal Shemer, is the coordinator of the Poultry program in Intel, at Intel in Israel. So Tal, feel free to share your experience, and thanks for your participation.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Tal Ezra Shemer. I think you wanted me to share my presentation, so just a sec. Let me do that. So I'm the Intel involved manager here. Oh, you disabled participant screen sharing. So if you could enable it, I can share.
That you can do now. You can share now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me understand if you can see my screen now.
Yeah, perfectly.
Wonderful. So hello, everyone. I'm the Intel Involved Manager. This is the name for the volunteers managers in Intel. And yes, I'm going to talk to you about how we dealt with volunteering during the pandemic. So just starting with the Intel Israel for you to understand, and starting with Israel. So Israel, a small country, almost 20% only of Spain. Yes, very, very small, 8.5 million people. But when talking about Intel Israel, we're talking about one of the largest high-tech employers with 13,000 employees. We have a really, in Israel, it's called the land of milk, honey, and chips, because it's the startup and high-tech company. So you can see that we have a large presence in Israel. We have the first design center outside of the US for Intel. It's located in the north, Intel Haifa. Another design center, which is known as the smartest building around the world, the central of Israel, Intel Petah Tikva. And we have in Jerusalem, one of our largest acquisitions for autonomous driving, and also a design center for cybersecurity and communication, Intel Jerusalem. And last but not least, the most advanced fabrication. So we have both design center employees and both fabrication employees. And we work together when you talk about volunteering. So when the pandemic started, we understood at Intel that our employees' health is a first priority. We understood that we should take care both of our employees' needs and the community needs. And what happened in the first phase was that we understood that we had to reorganize our volunteering. Like you said, we had to invent ourselves from the beginning, because if you start lowering the presence of volunteering in the campus and you have less and less people coming to visit, then we thought of innovation way, how can we continue volunteering without engaging with people face to face. So for example, if we have lessons, math lessons to students, we started online math lessons to students together in collaboration with the municipality, with other companies, for us to continue with these math lessons. And if we had a party with the elderly that was supposed to be for the holidays, we understood we cannot, danger the elderly, and we decided that we cannot do that, but we didn't want that, for them to be disappointed. So we gave them packages, to make Passover and our holidays still happy. So we started reorganizing, our volunteers. And according to government instructions and also Intel instructions, we started mapping the needs with the great help of our partners, Ruach Tova, which is, like Points of Light in Israel, and also partners like municipalities and government. We mapped all the needs, and we understood that there are three main themes that we will we have needs there. So we have needs in education, we have needs in welfare, and we have needs in health. So we mapped the needs, we talked to everyone, and after we understood these needs, we reorganized our volunteering and started volunteering from home. So for example, when talking about health, we took our best people, there are AI, advanced analytics, and helped hospitals. How can you help hospitals? It could be either with research. There were really research regarding the coronavirus and climate. And we took our abilities and helped them, get faster data, faster results to understand and get better results. We work with hospitals to map data and give them, the understanding of the number of staff, the status of patients, the status of beds. We gave them our best abilities. So that is example for health. Example for education would be that we have a micro-volunteering, a volunteering that you can volunteer from home through an app and a website. This micro-volunteering helps students if they have problems during working on their homework, and now they have lots of problems. They learn new materials, they have to go to matriculation, and especially the students that are left behind are the low socioeconomic students. So we help them, our employees, in their pajamas or in every other situation, they can just solve the problems in math, usually math, and help them explain everything in the app, and that way the student is not stuck with the material and they can go forward. And the third theme was the welfare. We understood both from municipalities and both from government and from our partners, Ruach Tova, that the elderly has been very much damaged from the corona situation. They are both very isolated because they do not know how to use technology, and they are in danger, one of the highest risk. So we are working with municipalities. We are together in a call phone to understand their needs and try to even give them any needs they need if they have anything related to food and or any other needs. We are there to hear them and also be for them, so they will not be lonely. The fourth phase is what I'm doing all the time, which is fine-tuning, because the situation is always changing. You cannot stand in one place. The country is changing when talking about government, what government tells us to do. You can go out, you cannot go out. So you need to fine-tune and understand in order to create an impact. And so we always talk again to our partners, to other companies. We go in coalitions, large coalitions, to understand together needs and work together. And so my main focus is now creating large impact. So if talking about education, creating a large impact is going to places in the country that are with a low socioeconomic background, that do not have enough motivation to, and they have a lot of gaps, and they are getting more and more gaps, and we want to help them. So this is one of the situations that we can really create big impact together with companies. We can volunteer with them with math. We can help them with understand technology, and if there is a technology different, understand and help them go online. We can help and donate computers. We can do a really big change once we work together and create impact. So it's always in fine-tuning, again, mapping the needs, continue volunteering, understand again the need, and creating impact. So this is what we do regularly. And when you think about, just the question of why volunteer now, because employees are very distracted, they are at home, they work very hard. So why volunteer now? I think it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the employee because an employee, I believe that an employee is healthier when he volunteers, when he feels more meaningful, when he understands that they can affect better the situation, especially in these kinds of situations. I think it's a win for the community because they feel they are heard, their needs are heard, and you can give them their needs. And it's a win for the company because the company gets better employees, more motivated employees, and it can do good to the community that is there. So just leaving one note for you and wishing you health. And also in Israel, there is a common saying says that we say, may we all be always at the giving side, which means we always want to be the ones that are able to give. So I wish we all are always that way.
Thank you so much, Tal.
Welcome.
Now let's go with Telefónica. We have Carlos Palacio, the Global Head of Corporate Volunteer Program at Telefónica.
Hello.
His colleague Paco Moro. So Carlos, feel free to start when you want.
Thank you very much, Marcos. Do you have?
We have the presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
First of all, just to say that the volunteering program in Telefónica is inside the corporate foundation, and it's a special situation because we are not part of we're not part of the company, but we have our own resources. Well, the situation in Spain is very complicated at this moment because we have an activity in our streets, only the essential activities. And as company, we have a very strict policy for our employees and of course for our volunteers. That's the reason that we have to change all our strategy about the corporate volunteering, and we are changing to a digital strategy. It's not difficult for us because we are a telco company and we have the tools to make it, but we have to change the mind of our volunteers, and we have to change all the processes that we have been making for the last years. But we can't stop because now, and I'm sure that in a few months, we must have a more important social intervention because all the consequences are going to be unmanageable. We can imagine what are going to be the consequences of this situation in our economy, in our employees, and in all the people who is left in their jobs or is going to have a worse situation. We have changed our strategy, but first of all, we have done a very hard economic donation in two ways. A great donation for Red Cross programs, and we have the responsibility for challenging 25 million euros to buy medical equipment for the first time in Spain. And as program, if you change it to the second slide, Marcos, please. And as program, we have changed our strategy. First of all, basically using the technology as a solidarity tool. Thanks to the digital world, the Solidarity and the SOP, we have the possibility to realize solidarity. We have inspiring people to help others and to translate some needs of the community for people who wants to help other people, and we are doing it across the technology. Of course, virtual accompanaging, because we can help people to be near of other people across technology, across phone or Skype or other tools, giving visibility to social entities because they need money and they need to be known for the society. We are helping to ONGs to develop their job across our volunteers in online activities, training volunteers to take care for the close environment, helping them to their near close environment to understand what is happening and how to help, giving opportunities to promote digital inclusion for most vulnerable groups. We have a big problems with the old people because they don't know how to use the technology in this situation, and our volunteers are helping them to use it, and the same to have a responsible use of the technology in the young people, because this situation, a lot of people share a lot of things, and they must do it with the most care of they could. And of course, we have adapted our internal processes or internal managed processes. Our strategy at this time is 5 key points. First of all, virtual intervention. We are trying to use technology to link people with other people across virtual tools. Online volunteering is the second key point, because we can help the social entities to make their processes with our online volunteers. Self-volunteering is a very important part of our program, self-volunteering, and because we think that we can teach, or we can help to learn our volunteers something to develop in their close environment. And mentoring training in our programs, because we have programs for jobs, to get jobs, or programs for kids, and we can help with volunteers to mentor and training these programs. And awareness, I think it's very important this time, and the technology is a great opportunity to awareness, that all the volunteers could be a great opportunity to aware the society of SAR programs. And these key points, Paco is part of my team, and maybe he's going to explain to you more examples of these key points. Paco, if you want.
Here I am. Hello. Thank you, Juan Ángel, for the opportunity to share with all of you what we are doing. Carlos has explained you more or less the different strategies that the different initiatives what we are doing now. One of the main importance we are doing is trying to identify with the entities, with the social entities we are working. We work with most of the non-profit institutions in Spain. So the first thing we did since the very beginning is to get in touch with all of them and try to know what are their needs. What they are telling us is that, wait a moment, we need to analyze, we need to see how we could continue our activities now in this different situation, in this virtual reality. So the first group of people we identified that were in need were elderly people. So we have been trying to do with many of the different institutions who are working with elderly people, different initiatives to support them. There are many elderly people in institutions or at homes that they are alone. So we are trying to support them, to encourage them, to let them know that we are here, that we are together. We are joining now an initiatives with other companies called Letters for Solitude. In that initiative, what we are trying is that the volunteers send letters to elderly people so that they get in touch personally with them and they give them support. We have seen that it's not easy at the same time to do this initiative, since the people who are in the institutions, they are the ones suffering, really suffering this pandemic. So we are trying to go to elderly people, but also to people with disability. We have found that people in institutions with disability, they also need this support. So we are changing now the project Letters to Solitude to people with disability. We are putting other initiatives in action through telephone, trying to support people, elderly people. In one way is making calls to different elderly people who are at home alone, trying to give them support, try to teach them how to use tools that we normally use, like WhatsApp or other different tools in the smartphones, so that they can get in touch with their families, with their relatives, so they are not isolated anymore. Trying to help them, for instance, to do shopping, online shopping, something very important for them at this moment. And in another way, we are trying to support other institutions who are receiving calls for elderly people, from different people who are alone, people who are isolated. So we are in the two ways. Initiatives that we make calls and initiatives that we receive calls for people who are alone. So it's very important for the institution to have a virtual telephone switchboard. It's not easy. It's something they are realizing, that they need to have this virtual telephone switchboard so that they could manage all the calls that they are making. In the support we give to the institution, as I said before, and as Carlos mentioned, what we are trying to give them is to help them to analyze how they could continue their activities with their users. Normally, the activities the institution used to do it were in the place where they have their office. So now they have to do all the activities online. So what we are doing is a process of helping them to change how what you were doing before in presence, now you could do it online. If you had young people with disability, and you were doing entertainment or teaching activities every afternoon, how could you do these activities online? We have already started some experiences in that sense, so that those young boys or children that they are at homes, they could keep occupied, they could continue learning, they could continue doing the activities they were doing before. It's very important for us also to continue raising awareness. This pandemic is very important that everybody is aware of the difficulties we are facing. Everybody is aware that we will be able to overcome if all of us will collaborate. So we are doing several initiatives in the raising awareness about what is the pandemic, how could you yourself contribute to that. Keeping at home is the most important one, but many others. So we have produced videos and tips, for instance, from Red Cross, and a video also that we have produced ourselves, so that we could keep awareness of what is the situation, how could you contribute, what could you do to help others. So that's a very important line for us to raise awareness. There are other initiatives we are trying to encourage our employees to do themselves at home. It's what we call self-volunteering. They are at home, they are with their children, they are with their elderly families or relatives. So there are many things they could do by themselves at home with their children. They could raise awareness, as I was saying before. They could teach them things related to cybersecurity. They could do many things with their own people. They could do things related to programming, how to program. So we are trying to encourage our people, our employees, to do things by their own at home. And in that sense, we have realized that our employees, they are doing many things by their own. So we are doing a campaign of crowd thinking. It's very interesting. Crowd thinking, try to receive all the initiatives that many of our employees are doing by their own where they live, in their neighborhoods, in their buildings, where they stay. So it's very interesting, the information we are receiving in this crowd thinking, try to know what they are doing. So more or less, those are the different initiatives we are now setting. But if I had to summarize, the most important is to be near to the non-profit institutions, to know what they need and to support them in what they need. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, Marcos. Sorry, Juan Angel. Sorry, yes. Juan Angel. I'm Carlos again. Sorry. For us, it's very important this last slide, because we have changed or we have improved our communication channels with the social entities. Now we separate the voluntary needs of economic or equipment needs, and now we know how to separate the channels to make a quick attention. And now we are ready to understand the actual needs, but now we know the future needs, because are going to be very different. And we have opened channels to know which are the individual initiatives, because to put it in value, because I think the individual initiatives will be a very good way to inspire other people, because within all the society, all our employees are social action. That is the last point that would know to share with you.
Thank you so much, Carlos and Paco. And then let's go with Marta Gil. Marta Gil is the coordinator, the director of the corporate volunteering program in CaixaBank. So Marta, when you want.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see the screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Okay, great, perfect. So I'm going to explain in 7 minutes what we are doing from CaixaBank from the last 2 weeks. I'm really happy. Thanks for Voluntaria for inviting us to be here. I'm really happy because I'm seeing some friends from Volunteer and Paco, Carlos, or meeting the new ones, no, like the colleague Tal in Israel. So we are a CaixaBank. We are a retail bank in Spain. We have a force work from 30,000 employees. So, and usually we move 20,000 volunteers. So we believe our volunteer force is quite important, as we move roughly the half of the employees we have. So the last 2 weeks has been quite crazy for everyone. So what we have done, and this is what I want to explain to you today, is these 3 things. The first thing we have done also 2 weeks ago when we started was keeping safe and strong the volunteer network. After I'm going to go in detail a little bit with each step. After the second point, we have been working in a big and a new online project. We never have done online volunteer before. It's the first time. We were thinking for a long time ago that we have to do that. We have to start. Voluntare has told us so many times we have to do this. We can start this project, but we didn't have the time and we didn't prioritize this activity. So now in 2 weeks we have done more than in the last 10 years for the online volunteer. And the last thing we are working on also is adapting our tools and the business we are working on. Okay, so the first thing, when everything starts, we are doing between 20 and 25 activities daily. Every day we do 20-25 volunteer activities. So the first thing we did was to stop everything we were doing. We were working on all the volunteers activities. Our volunteers were working with the social entities. So we stopped all of that and we talk with all of our volunteers, assuming that they are okay, their health, they are good, everyone is okay and everyone has the support they need, because in our volunteers we have employees, but also we have retired people, we have some customers from the bank, we have our friends, we have our families, so they don't receive the information from the channel from the company. So we create this channel to keep on talking everyone and to know that everyone is healthy. The second thing we did was inform all our social entities. Paco and Carlos were talking about that before, and I share their opinion that it's quite important. We are working with thousands of social entities within the whole country. So we have to speak with them and we have to explain to them our new situation and our priority to keep safe our volunteers. So we were talking with them. The third thing we did was to talk with the company strategy. What is doing CaixaBank as a bank? So our volunteer has to be aligned. It's not for us. It's not normal that our bank branches, they are closing, but our volunteers are on the street. It's not. So we are trying to align of the strategy where we are doing. So if our bank branches, half of them are closed, so our volunteers, we have to keep them at home. This is the most important thing, and try to be in the same direction. And another important thing is to keep the volunteer force informed regular basis, because if we are employees, we receive the information from our bosses, from the CEO, from the chairman, from everyone, but the volunteers, that they are customers, they are clients, they are friends, family, retired people, they don't have access to this strategic information. So we every week we share how is going the global strategy for volunteers, how is going the global strategy for the company, and try to feel them, they try to try to let them feel how we are working and what we are doing. For me, one of the challenges we will have to work at the end of all of this crazy story is try to keep alive the soul of the volunteer, try to keep alive what we were they doing before, everything we were working on. So that is, now we are trying to communicate, and try to do projects together. So the first thing we did was that, keeping safe and strong the volunteer network, and we are trying to work every day on that. The second thing we're working was, as I told you before, we didn't have opportunities for online volunteer. So we worked really as quick as we could, and we realized we create a new project, and a new one, a big one, that everyone can join from each city on Spain. So everyone who wants to join this online project can do it. We are working on communication between, you have here the explanation, it's a support network between volunteers and people with some difficulties. So right now we have more than 500 volunteers in these last 10 days. We are expecting to have 2,000-3,000 people working on the next 2-3 weeks on these online activities. At the same time we were working in this new big online project, we are promoting also local activities. We are doing financial literacy projects on Skype. Before we did on person. Right now we are doing online. We are doing yoga class online with autistic people. We are working with children. We are working on the school homework and all of that. So we are trying to keep this force together and try to do and to move forward to these online activities. And the last thing we are doing, I'm not sure it has to be the last, but the things were like this, was to adapt everything we have, our tools, our business, everything we're doing to this new situation is going to stay. I think in May, in June, in July, I don't know when we will go out to the streets again, but I think the volunteer will change. Also Paco and Carlos and also Tal was explaining that before. I think the paradigm has changed for everyone. So we need to adapt and to be fast and quick to this new situation. So we never have report to our CEO, the online volunteers. So we are adapting all of our strategic informs in this direction. Also our platform, we were not ready to share online activities. So we are trying to work as fast as we can to create these tools. Also the recognition, we are sharing every day, daily, one experience for one volunteer. Here you have our platform, is www.voluntariosLaCaixa.org. If you want to check online, it's open for everyone. So here we are trying to share how our volunteers, they are sharing this moment, as we are all in the same boat, so we have to keep together. And also the business continuity. I talk a lot with my colleagues from the business part, and they are working on the business continuity for the bank. The volunteer is the same. We have to be working in our business continuity, how we are going to help people after everything is going to finish, and also while everything is happening. So the three things I wanted to share to you is: the first, keep safe and strong the volunteer network. I think this is the most and the key point to survive to all of this and to keep growing up after everything has happened. The second one is try to give them opportunities to help and to help now. Everyone, we are at home, we want to do things, but we don't know how to do it. We don't know with who we can collaborate. So it's important to have a good partners and try to do an online project with impact, with social impact. If not, it's quite challenging for them to keep motivated and to keep engaged every day. And the last but not least is try to adapt everything we are doing. But at the end of all of that, I think the corporate volunteer is going to change, and we have to be there, and we have to try to help people and try to keep motivated the volunteers. So thank you very much. Thanks, Voluntare, for the moment, and keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Marta. And last but not least, Jonathan Barreto is the Vice President of Points of Lights and a good friend. So, Jonathan, what you want?
Everybody, can you hear me well? It's okay. Wait, Marcos, can I have my presentation, please? So when Marcos put the presentation, I will go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Jonathan, and I lead Points of Light Corporate Solutions team. I'm Brazilian, but I'm based here in Washington, D.C. So it's great to be talking to you today. A little bit about Points of Light. So we're a global nonprofit based here in the US, but we have a network of affiliates in 37 countries, including Spain. So Voluntariado de Estrategia is our local affiliate. We are pretty much everywhere in Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, also Huactova and Good This Day, who is also on the line with us as our affiliate in Israel. So I'll be talking to you a little bit about how Points of Light is supporting our partners. Marcos, can I have the next slide, please? As I said a little bit about Points of Light, so our goal is to really accelerate people power change. So all the work that Points of Light does is to promote civic engagement and ways that you can connect people to social change. And a little bit about us, we are a quite old organization. We exist for 30 years. As I said, our headquarters here in the US. I'm based in Washington, have an office in Atlanta and New York, but our footprint is globally. Can I have next slide, please? So yeah, just more about Points of Light. So we have these slides, so you can learn more about us. Can I have next slide, please, Marcos? And for us, it's very important to say that beyond volunteer, for a long time now, Points of Light has been talking about the concept of civic life. So we believe that more than volunteers, you want to encourage people that we serve to be able to have a civic life, and every action matters. So we believe that people can change the world by the way they volunteer, but also through the purchase, to the work, to voting, volunteer, to the social media. And this concept is more important than ever for us now, because as you can probably imagine, volunteer is very restricted on the age of coronavirus. But what we want to help our corporate partners to understand that they can still do other things and can still encourage our employees to do other things that not necessarily volunteer as a concept of volunteer. So we know that the landscape's changing. There's more and more restrictions happening. So it's very important for us to be able to support our employees to understand their civic role and their civic life that goes beyond taking time off to go volunteer. Can I have the next slide, please? So we are working with our partners, what we call our 4 strategies to support respond to coronavirus. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and some examples. So at Points of Light, I currently work with 37 countries, around 40 companies, 40 multinational companies. Most of them are US-based companies for a global footprint. And this is the framework we're using right now to support our corporate partners. So these are 5 strategies, and each strategy is going to be defined in a different way for a different partner. But just to give an overview about how you're counseling and advising our partners to move forward. Can I have the next slide, please, Marcos? I think the first thing we're talking to our partners is like, if it's possible, try to provide virtual and remote volunteer opportunities. So we heard a lot about that today. And Points of Light put together, I'll ask Marcos to share with this group, put together a quick tool, which will try to map all the virtual volunteer opportunities that we know right now. These are, for sure, probably missing a lot, but we have about 30 to 35 current remote volunteer opportunities. So you're more than welcome to go there and check it out. But we're trying to advise our partners, if it's possible, when it's possible, try to move forward your volunteer opportunity to something virtual. And there's really good opportunities that already exist there that you can take advantage. For instance, United Nations have a website for United Nations volunteers, where you can go there and we can help them to create a document or to do translations. We have a great example here in the US of Career Village, but also have in Spain, for instance, Bridges for Billions, of organizations to provide support for mentoring for small business or for nonprofits. But also I've seen a lot of our corporate partners having very creative solutions of doing group virtual volunteering together. So for instance, we worked with American Express in Malaysia to do a Wikipedia translation marathon. So they realized, so Wikipedia, we all know Wikipedia, it's a free platform, everybody can go there and edit. But they realized there was a lack of articles in Wikipedia in local language, in Malay, about human rights, especially female rights. So the company worked together and they host an online translation marathon where they select a bunch of articles in English that they would like to have it translated to Malay. So employees would compete to see which team would translate more. The same thing they've done with TED Talks. So TED Talk has a network of translators and they're looking for people to translate talks to their local languages. So some of our partners are holding TED Talk marathons where employees could get together and translate TED Talks. So just some examples of things that you're doing that are opportunities that already exist. You're just leveraging them now on this world. So if you look at the document that I'll ask Marcus to share with you later, there's a lot of opportunities like that. So for instance, Micro Mentor is a great example as a partner of Points of Light. Basically, they connect mentors with micro business all over the world. And even right now, they have a webpage just for coronavirus where employees could help micro entrepreneurs to think about loans and HR issues. So also, we are thinking about how can you support local communities. So most of these volunteer opportunities that already exist, they're online, they tend to be to support globally. But also we're trying to encourage our partners, what can you do? And that you had very great examples here with Telefónica, Caixa, and Intel. But like, what can you do that can be done locally? Can I have next slide, please? Another strategy you're thinking about is like, can you focus your volunteer program in skill-based volunteer pro bono? It's important to say that not every nonprofit is ready to receive a skill-based or pro bono support. It requires a little bit of structure, and sometimes in the times of crisis, the least thing you want is to take some time off to think about pro bono and skill-based. But we're seeing that pro bono and skill-based, it's definitely something that can be done virtually. And a lot of our nonprofit partners, they really need support right now to understand how I'm gonna think about long-term or solve cash flow issues or even HR issues. So you see a lot of our partners thinking about how to support with pro bono skill-based volunteer projects. So good way to start, there's the Global Pro Bono Network. It's a network of organizations, of intermediaries who provide pro bono globally. So Taproot, Common Impact, Xera. There's some of the organizations that are member of that. I would encourage you to take a look and figure out what are the partners that could support you locally. But it's a really good way to start and figure out if there's a way that you can reach out to your current partners and say, hey, I cannot send you a group of volunteers, but can I help you maybe lending the time of 2 or 3 of my executives or 2 or 3 of people from my finance team to sit with you online? And how can you leverage things like Zoom or GoToMeeting to hold this type of activities? Taproot, which is one of Points of Light partners, just posted a blog, very nice, helping companies to how to create a skill-based and volunteer program to support their mission. So I'll also ask Voluntaria Estrategia to share this resource with you. That could be a good way to do it. Can I have the next slide, please? Another thing that I also encourage a lot of our partners to say, hey, we all have our volunteer strategy. We call it in here our EVP, or Employee Volunteer Strategy. And we all know that for now, most of the things are going to be put on hold. So it's like a rainy day when you cannot go outside, you end up doing something inside. You go clean your closet or do something that when you cannot go outside. So we're also talking to your partners and say, can this situation be an opportunity for you to look at internal things? And what can you do that? For instance, this could be a really good opportunity for companies to start review an employee volunteer strategy. We all have our volunteer champion strategy, our volunteer leader strategy. This could be a really good opportunity to look at it, to maybe hold focus groups of employees and understand what they would like to be doing, what can be improved on their strategy. Do we have the right volunteer platform? Are you tracking well? Or can you listen to our employees and stakeholders to understand how to better create a strategy for employee volunteer program? Also, most of us as companies, we have policies, volunteer policies. So volunteer time off policy or dollars for doers and match grants. There's also a good opportunity to review these policies. Like the world's going to change, and it's going to be long-term change. So we have to make sure that our volunteer time off policy, for instance, includes virtual volunteer, or that our match grant policy includes virtual volunteer. So this could be a really good opportunity to really review and rethink internal policies and procedures to make sure they're ready for a new world. So in a world that most likely most of the people are going to working from home in the long term, how does corporate volunteer plays on this world? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? So we also encourage our partners to take this as an opportunity to improve their strategy and infrastructure to support the community and their employees in terms of crisis. Next slide, please, Marcos. And also the other thing that they're doing is helping our partners to shift from direct service to education and training. This could be a really good opportunity, and I heard some of you talking about that today, to focus on education and training about specific issues. So we have some of our partners who are banks, for instance. They're actually pushing education on financial literacy. So financial literacy is very important, always be important, but in terms of crisis, even more important. Can you work with your employees to teach them skills that they need? So some of our partners, we have a big partnership with Hilton Worldwide, the hotel chain. They're taking this as an opportunity to train their employees on sex traffic and human rights. So take an opportunity that maybe business might be lower or the demand might be lower to teach employees. Also, another thing that I encourage our partners to do is to get closer to your nonprofit partners. So maybe you could do virtual presentations for nonprofit partners or listen learning campaigns. So some of our partners, for instance, are inviting their nonprofit partners to come on board and do a brown bag lunch. So it means during lunchtime, they have a Zoom meeting and the nonprofit comes and tell about the work they do, the importance for the community, and what is the problem of hunger in this situation? What is the problem of child abandonment in this organization? Another thing that they're doing, some of our partners doing is board service and training. So we know that we all want to bring good board members for our nonprofits. This could be a really good way to create board service training. So to teach employees online what is to be a good board member, and also we've done it here in the US, we've done some match projects, so almost like speed dating. So bring together in a Zoom meeting nonprofits who are looking for board members and volunteers who are potential board members and give them an opportunity to talk and to get to know each other. So it's really a good way to shift from direct service to education and training, at least in the short term. Last but not least, Marcus, can I have next slide, please? We're encouraging our partners to say, is there any advocacy or awareness campaign? I think Telefónica talked a lot about education, but is there something happen in your country, in your region, that you could use as an opportunity to educate? So for instance, here in the US, you have the census happening this year. So can you leverage your company to your employees to talk about the census? Or for instance, can you transform your day of service and day of purpose and start talking about purpose? Can you talk more about things like universal basic income? So there's a lot of issues that we can use as an opportunity to build and strengthen advocacy and awareness campaign. SDG is a great opportunity. This could be a really good opportunity to educate your employees about the SDGs and make sure that they understand. I know that in Spain, they're probably way more advanced on the SDGs than they are here in the US. But for us, we see it as a great opportunity to hold webinars about SDGs and let's learn more about the problems of the world. Next slide, please, Marcos. And also another strategy that's been very important for us before I recap is about storytelling and recognition. So we understand that more than ever, volunteer is important. So we had a call last week with Feeding America. So Feeding America is a large food bank in the United States. So it's a $2 billion nonprofit. And they told us that they receive a lot of companies and a lot of foundations giving them money, but they need volunteers. So when it's possible, we learned that volunteering is very, very important. And recognizing the importance of volunteering is very important. So we encourage our partners, take this time off, like that you cannot go to the community, to recognize your volunteers, to highlight stories of volunteers. It's really important in times of crisis to have something to look for, to have good stories to share. So can you take these months as an opportunity to every week highlight the story of one volunteer, the amazing work they're doing to create some opportunities for people to celebrate. So just going back, this is the 5 strategies that Points of Light is working with our partners. So to provide virtual and remote volunteer opportunities, to take this as an opportunity to focus on skill-based volunteer and pro bono virtual projects, to tackle internal capacity building projects, shift focus from direct service to education and training, And last but not least, to have this an opportunity to build and strengthen advocacy and awareness campaigns. This is all from us. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to respond. And also, Points of Life, we're putting lots of resources and best practice. So if you don't have my email, I can ask the team to share my email, and feel free to email if you need any kind of study or resources. We're more than happy to share. Thanks, Marcos and team.
Thank you so much, Fran. And we have just a couple of minutes. I would like to just comment. We're organizing an international conference to celebrate our 10th anniversary, and we would love to send you send us your experience on how do you manage the coronavirus crisis, because we will have a panel on this. So please feel free to send us your comments, ideas, or whatever you think could be interesting or useful in this conference. And as volunteers, we are working on the designing of a collaborative project, co-volunteering project. So if you have any proposal of this kind of collaborative projects, please send us, because this is our role. We would like to work with, together with companies, NGOs, and try to promote this kind of corporate volunteering or collaborative corporate volunteering programs. About the questions, I think we have one question for Intel, and we don't have more time for any more questions, but just comment that we are going to send you all the presentations, and you can send us your question if you have no time now, because we are going to share the presentation and the answer to the speakers. We have recorded the webinar, so you could find in our YouTube channel, voluntary YouTube channel, and in our website. So Marcos, if you want, just
yes, we have three questions. One about one to Marta, but she answers, so it's right. The answer is okay. And we have another one that you say to Tal about. Let me see. From Intel, I would like to know more about micro volunteering with the students. How is the previous work teacher volunteer with one online tool, etc. And Tal answers, TICTEC is, she said, TICTEC is an external website that is open for volunteers in all Israel. This is not with a teacher, but a connection between a student and a volunteer. A student uploads a question from homework, and the administrators of the website pass on all keys and give priority. And volunteers gives a written answer that administrators go through and post it online. This is the answer. And the other is about Marta, but she could answer before.
Okay, so thank you so much for your participation and for trying to give once or to solve this unprecedented crisis. And again, volunteer will play this role of try to interchange information projects. Thank you again, and keep in contact through volunteer. And thank you so much to everyone. Bye.
Thanks for the help. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.